All right, so the world of photography. I mean, it's you don't really know what it looks like unless you're in it. All right, so how's your experience been so far?
So far, so good.
Yeah.
I feel like I have to hustle a lot.
Yeah. What do you mean? What does the hustle look like, or what do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, it's like you go to school for it, and there's there's a lot of kids who's just like in school, they're doing their work, they're working really hard, but it's just like you have to really get out there and do the internships and make sure that you're seen, like make sure you speak up in class. And then after that, after school is finished, then the real work begins. Getting out to the photographers like Matt saying, hey, can I photo assist? Can I help out on set? Start working for those photographers and then start trying to get an agency or reaching out to companies who you aspire to work for.
Was it like that for you when you started out, Matt?
I mean, I think you have the right idea, absolutely, and I'm glad to hear it because sometimes I think people have illusions of what actually it's like to jumpstart yourself after school. It was like that. I mean, I think I did it in a wonky way because I think I was quite stubborn and quite uneducated in the real world of photography to some extent.
What do you mean?
What do I mean? I mean that my school, I loved it. I went to SUNY Purchase, but for fine art photography, but it didn't prepare me at all for the business side of it. And what it didn't do was give me sort of an identity as both a photographer and a businessman. And I'm both. And
you work for yourself, right?
I work for myself. I own my own business, so I work for my company, but I'm the sole employee. So essentially, I'm a freelancer.
Right.
And you're absolutely right, Jeremiah, that you do have to. It's an unbelievable amount of work, and when you get out of school, you have to
Turn a little.
Gotta make,
Oh,
gotta
let
make
me-
sure people can see you a little bit. You gotta look at them, but
Look
you
at
know.
that face.
when you get out of school, you have to do all these things that you're talking about. You have to reach out to photographers. You have to reach out to companies, brands. You have to create, you have to kill the inertia that you might have had in school. Or if you had kinetic energy coming out of school, you have to switch it over from making work for projects and teachers and start to think about how to apply that in a business sense. So it's very different.
Now, is there like an ecosystem, or is it all like doing it yourself, making these phone calls?
Like the Wild West.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably a little bit of both. I mean, I think these days there are more tools for photographers to lean on, but it is a bit of a pick and choose which tools you want to pick up. It's such a wide ranging thing that it's hard to say something that is
Covers it all.
That covers it all. But
Right.
I mean, for you, how does it feel coming out?
Well, I mean, here's the interesting part because I was doing photography before I decided to go back to school. And I was like, you guys know me. I've been doing photography for a while. And then I was like, you know what? I need to go back to school for this because I realized that I didn't know enough. I was just hustling on the streets, hey, let me take your pictures, all this kind of stuff.
Me too. I did
And
that.
it's just kind of it was cool, but the jobs that you get, it weren't consistent with exactly what you were going for.
100%.
And
What was it that you were going for? Like that you felt like.
I wanted commercial advertising portraiture,
Okay.
and I didn't even know
In
how
la-
to
in-
express that.
In layman terms, like you wanted your photos in Times Square or on
I mean,
buses,
New York Magazine.
Okay,
You know,
okay.
like that kind of stuff.
I can relate to exactly that experience, and I have similar aspirations, and I've achieved some of them, but still, every time you achieve one, you want the next one. So I still feel a lot
My
like
God.
you in a lot of ways, where I'm like, but
Cup is half full, half empty. Yeah.
totally, you have to have this gratitude / push for the next thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, totally did the same thing. I remember having these ridiculous. I mean, now it's probably totally not PC, but back in college, I had these flyers I'd print out on a shitty little HP printer, and I'd post them up all over college, and it would say, "Need a headshot? Call a hitman. Need a photographer? Call me." And it was little tear offs with the numbers,
Yeah.
And I would give my business card to everybody, and then our mutual friend Brad
Yeah.
and Brad's God bless Brad. I love Brad. I love Brad.
But I'm about to shit on Brad.
No.
Who is Brad?
I would never.
He's a homie,
I would
he's a
never
homie.
shit on Brad, but Brad is a kook. He's an amazing human being that has an abundance of energy. And one day I remember he was he's just the ultimate hype man, and he was handing out my flyers. He was like, "Yo, this man's a photographer. This man's a photographer." And I just remember going to myself this is one way to do it. but there's probably another way to do it, you know. And that's not to shit on Brad, because Brad is like the band,
or just
you know what I mean?
anybody willing to do that work. Like you just saw
like,
someone.
and I was doing it just alongside Brad. Like I was no different than him doing that. Like, but I think then I had the same realization that I need to be a little bit more targeted in my approach if I want that level of clientele, because what you give is in relation to what you get, in a sense. And if you're giving to people on the street, you're going to get people on the street.